Hey everybody, Adam Davidson, RadCast for Tuesday, October 17, 2023. Listen to this brief passage from the Gospel of Mark. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." And that's the word of the Lord. I want to talk briefly about your devotional practice, and mine too. We, as followers of Jesus, we know it's the right thing to do to have some kind of devotion or devo, where we spend time with the Lord in the Word, in prayer, in some kind of devotional study, whatever that looks like. And today at the office, I have the opportunity to share about the value of spending time with Jesus. And so I'm going to just outline 3 quick reasons to spend time with the Lord and have a devotional time, a daily devotional time, just 3 reasons. But what I would really like from you, dear friends, is your commentary. Either, places where you have found this to be true in your life or places where you struggle. I'm inspired by people who have a solid prayer life. I'm also inspired by the vulnerability of people who say, listen, I struggle with this daily, because that's really what equalizes all of us. We have to remember there's Jesus and then there's everybody else. And it's not like we get extra points or some sort of like super spiritual badge on our shirts when we spend extra time in prayer. The benefits are far greater than that. But there's something about us just really being honest as a community and saying, man, this is either where God is helping me and that helps others, or maybe this is where I'm struggling, and that sort of helps us too to realize that this is a struggle, but we do it together. So let me give you 3 reasons that it's good to spend time with Jesus. Number 1, because Jesus wants you. We have to remember that Jesus is the first mover. He's the one that really sends out the grace that goes before us, that even gives us a heart that wants to draw close to him. And the reason Jesus wants us to draw close to him is because he loves us. He loves you. He wants to just spend time with you. He wants to have conversation with you. He wants to have your ear. He wants to have your heart. He wants you to voice what's spinning in your mind and soul, because it's in those moments that when we're spending time with him that we draw close to him. And that's what he longs for. The way that you and I, maybe as parents or grandparents, want that for our kids, our family members, our spouses, whatever that is. There's nothing better than that quality time. That's where we get to know each other. We learn to recognize each other. We pick up on little things. And if we don't give Jesus audience and we don't respond to him in his call to us, we're missing out. But sometimes it's like, well, I've got to be good and I've got to be a certain way for Jesus to accept me. No, that's the point of grace and mercy, is that we don't get what we deserve, and instead we get God's blessing and provision because of his great love toward us. So first of all, Jesus is looking for you. It says in John 4 that God is spirit, and those who worship the Father must worship in spirit and truth. We know that, but we also know that a few verses before, it says that God is looking for us. He's seeking worshipers, and that's just another way of saying that God is looking for people who will pay attention to him, realize his glory, and respond. He's looking for you. He wants you. Number 2, we need to want Jesus. So yeah, we say that Jesus wants us, and that's true. But also, second reason, we need to want Jesus. And what I mean by that is we have to have this practice of seeking the Lord and spending time with him. And what he does is he creates in us a deeper desire to spend. It's very strange. It's like the less time you spend with Jesus, the less important it seems. The more time you spend with Jesus, it's not like you sort of fill up and walk away. It's like you want to spend even more time with him. So it's like this perpetual motion thing where the more time we spend with Jesus and the better we get to know him, the more we want to spend time with him, the more that we love him, the more that we become like him. And so what the Spirit does in our practice of devotion is it gives the Spirit space in our lives to drum up in us a desire for him, because we need to want Jesus. We don't automatically want Jesus. We automatically want to go the other way, but the Spirit stirs in us and draws us close to Jesus. And so he actually does all the heavy lifting. We just make ourselves available. That's the second reason. The third reason is this: spiritual warfare. We underplay it sometimes, but the reality is that every day, every moment, as soon as you get out of bed, as soon as you set foot outside your house, you are entering into a battlefield. It is a war, and it is real, and it seems, out of sight and out of mind, but the reality is there are spiritual things happening all around us and even in us. We need time with Jesus so that we have the strength and the power and the humility and the grace to carry through every moment of every day. This is what it is to walk with the Lord. And so I just want to, look at this verse and say, Jesus almost sneaks off. He goes to a solitary place and he prays, and his disciples are looking for him. Now, if Jesus were more responsible, he would have said, hey guys, I just want to let you know I'm going off to pray and I'll be back at so-and-so. Or if he were more responsible, he would have responded to their calls earlier and said, don't worry guys, I'm right here. He didn't do that. He set those things aside. And the key here is that Jesus decides what is urgent, not the world around him. And it's good that he did that because that's what gave him this obedience and this discipline that we model after. We want to be like Jesus. So you and I, we decide what's most important. We decide what's most urgent. We put first things first. And in this example, Jesus puts the Father first to the point where everyone is looking for you, they say, with this, exclamation. They're so urgent and so concerned. Jesus doesn't react with equal concern or apology. He just says, yeah, I was with my Father. Now let's go do this thing. Well, where did he get that idea, that inspiration to go and do the next thing? From spending time with the Father. So I encourage you, dear friends, spend time daily with Jesus. Dedicated, focused, thoughtful time. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever that is. And yes, throughout the day, as you're driving, as you're washing the dishes, as you're at work or with the kids or whatever, be aware of his presence. But really, it sort of begins most of the time in the morning when we just set the day right and say, in this day, everyone's going to be looking for me. There's going to be this chaos all around me. I want to be ready. So I know that Jesus wants me. I know that I need to want Jesus. And most of all, I know that I'm going into spiritual warfare. But the Lord is faithful. As he is faithful to us, may we be faithful to him. Would you share your thoughts on this? Because it will help shape what we're going to talk about at the office today. That's RadCast.